welcome to our open mic night. Welcome, everybody. So good to see you. We'll give a shout out. So put your favorite author in the Q&A as we're waiting for everybody to come in. Welcome to open mic night. Welcome. We are so glad you are here. Don't be shy. Give me some authors that you enjoy.
Oh, somebody, Louisa says Rick Riordan and Penelope Wilcock.
Yeah.
Nice choices.
And then Christina Turner. I love you too. I don't know if you're talking to me or if that's the book. I mean, you know, open mic night, anything can happen. Yes, Thomas.
Okay, my favorite is probably J.K. Rowling.
Good
Nice
choice. Very good choice. Anise, Mrs. Hoffman. Go ahead, Dr. Aaron. I see that you took that.
Oh, I actually didn't. I don't know why it disappeared. Someone else did. But I think I remember. I think it was Dostoevsky, MacDonald, Dante, and there might have been one more. It went by my eyes really quickly.
MacDonald and Chesterton.
Chesterton, yes.
Yes.
Good
Very
choices.
good. And then you got Louisa Turner's, and then Christina says
well, Christina, I think also said that her favorite author was Rosie Turner.
Yes, Rosie Turner. Woo, Rosie,
can I
shout
say
out
something?
to you.
Rosie is one of my favorite poets, actually.
Ah, Anastasia Frick said C.S. Lewis and Anne M. Martin. Ailsa, shout out to you. I am so glad you are here. Ailsa, longtime student, good to see you. Amaya Woylers, C.S. Lewis, and Louisa May Alcott. Ooh, she's another good one. You guys have some.
I love Tolkien.
Tolkien, good. Very good. All right. Anyone else with book authors? Yes, Jaden?
I like C.S. Lewis, Tolkien, and Shannon Messenger.
Very good.
We have another Shannon Messenger here. Josiah Howard says Rick Riordan, Shannon Messenger, Brandon Sanderson, and Brandon Mull.
And Christine Turner, in addition to her sister, L.M. Montgomery.
Oh, and Allison Johansson.
Mrs. Johansson, welcome.
S.D. Smith.
Woohoo! So we are just offering Q&A of or we're getting people to tell us their favorite author. We were just waiting until everybody filed in. So, and we were waiting for everybody to join as well. So all the speakers were here. So let me officially welcome you guys to Open Mic Night. Now, Open Mic Night, gosh, how many years have we been doing this? Athanasi, did we do it your first year? I think
it's been going on for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, because you've been in my class, well, used to be in my class for 4 years, so this should be year 5. So, wow, it's been quite a few years that we've been doing this. So, Open Mic Night, for those of you that are not familiar with it, is a celebration, a showcase of student creative work. And so today you're going to see some depictions, you're going to hear some short stories, you're going to hear poetry, and it's going to be a lovely evening. So we have a student. Evelyn is going to lead us in prayer. She's going to actually chant Christ is risen, and then we'll get going. So Evelyn, whenever you're ready.
There's one thing I must say, it is very hard for me to remember it without actually looking at the music or unless someone else is singing it.
All right.
Please pull it up for me.
Just the words.
Is she doing Christ is Risen?
Yes.
I can pull it up for you. I can
Thank
share it for you. It's handy from my class.
Thank you.
Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death by death, and upon those in the tombs bestowing life.
Truly he is risen. What a beautiful rendition. All right, so Amaya, let me find you. It looks like you need to
Yeah.
come in. There we go. Did you come in, Amaya? Hopefully, yep.
I think we
there
got
you
her.
are. Yay. All right, so tonight we have a whole list of students. And we're just going to showcase them. They're going to come to the mic and they're going to introduce themselves, their name. They're going to introduce what classes or what school they are a part of or what house of studies they're a part of. They'll introduce their piece and then they'll present their piece. If you have comments or questions for them, you can use the Q&A box. That's why we did a test run with it. So you can use the Q&A box and then Dr. Aaron and I will relay those and then we'll just keep on going through the night. Any questions from anyone? All right. Nicholas.
Mary will not be able to share tonight. She's not able to make. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll miss her, but those things happen. All right, so first to the mic is Jaden Martin. Jaden, come up to the mic and share a little bit about yourself and the piece you're going to be reading.
Well, first one correction. My name is Frodo Baggins. I don't know if you've heard of me, but so my piece, it began as an assignment. I had like 4 lines I needed to write, and I was like, oh wait, oh my goodness, I have to write a poem. And then once I started it, I kept on making more and more, and then it's become my favorite poem. Well, the one that I made.
Beautiful. Well, let's hear it.
Thank you, Lord. Oh, I thank the Lord for all his glorious fjords. Who could make the mighty mountains or dare to build the gracious fountains? I thank the Lord for all his gifts, for all his wonderful deeds, as plentiful as springing seeds. He has given us his many bugs, the beautiful flowers and the tree that towers. Oh, thank you, Lord, for all the chords sung by the larks. Thank you, Lord, for all your wonders given to us even with our blunders.
Beautiful. I think one of my favorite lines, actually the last 2. Thank you, Lord, for all your wonders given to us, even with our blunders. I really do love that.
Jaden, it sounded like a psalm almost.
Yes. Yes. And, you know, Mrs. Johansson said that was beautiful. Mrs. Hoffman, I loved those last 2 lines too. Yeah, very nice job. And I love the.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, I was just saying thank you. Sorry.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Very good. Anything else for Jaden? Well done, Zoya.
That is great.
It was beautifully written.
It was. Zoya? Oh, you already spoke. All right. Josiah Howard said, good job, Jaden. Amazing poem. Sophia Hernandez. Great work. Excellent. Thank you, Jaden. That was a very moving poem indeed. Very moving poem. All right, next up we have Evelyn Rumler. Evelyn, come to the mic. Oh, you're muted, Evelyn. There you go. So tell us about yourself and what you're
Well-
going to be sharing.
My name is Evelyn Rumler. I live in Louisiana. And, and I am writing a novel I'll call The Finding of Wolfsbane. That is the name specifically for this book. Okay, and it's going to be in a book series called The Wolfsbane Chronicles about this ancient Anglo-Saxon sword known as Wolfsbane. And by the way, it is actually magical.
Oh,
And the adventures that concern it, not only of the finding of, the rediscovery of it after about 1,000 years, but also of the battles and things that later concern it that happened a little while afterwards.
okay, very good. And what are you reading? What's this part that you're reading?
I haven't gotten any further, or I've just managed to give you a little glimpse and also of the first paragraph.
I love teasers.
That is actually one of my things for books. That is one of the things that I'm going to use in my books.
Excellent.
The Finding of Wolfsbane. Preface. In days of yore, there was a mighty king. Godfrey looked at the sword, for such it was. He slew the wolf of woe, but as the wolf lay dying, he gave the king a poisonous bite. And the king's sword, Wolfsbane, was lost. Could it be that he has found Wolfsbane? Also, by the way, a Godfrey is an Anglo-Saxon name.
Yes.
This is basically like the Anglo-Saxons in an alternate world. This particular book. Part 1, Chapter 1. It was mid-morning on the eastern marches. Godfrey could see the warriors riding on their horses to guard the citadel. Ever since the Great War, they had done this, night and day.
Evelyn, I want more. Where's the rest? How am I going to sleep tonight, Evelyn?
I'm still working on typing it. I just haven't been able to do it anymore because I've been so busy.
Oh my gosh, it really is interesting. Jaden, what do you think?
That was really interesting. You have to send it to me when you're done.
Evelyn, is this what you're going to be working on perhaps next year when we do novel writing, our novel writing course? Are you thinking that some of your work might be in this?
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it develop.
I just don't think I would finish it in time for Nova.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. We can
That's
maybe
okay.
pare it down. Nice work so far.
Very nice. Mrs. Hoffman said this is a gripping beginning. I concur. Christina Turner, I hope to read this one day. That's awesome. Thomas?
I just really loved it. It was really nice.
Yeah, lots of positives. Love it. A cliffhanger, all of those things. Very good, Lydia Knight. Very good. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, Christina Turner said absolutely brilliant and would pay money. Well, there you go. Mrs. Fortier said, I love the first line about mid-morning. In days of yore, there was a mighty king. Oh no, it was mid-morning on the eastern marches, right? Oh my goodness, it's like, I can just picture that in my head.
By the way, a march is an old Germanic word that means like territory.
Very good.
Unsettled, like kind of wild territory.
Very good. Very good. What a wonderful start. Sophia Hernandez said, reminds of me of a book by Kazuo Ishiguro called The Buried Giant. And then Anne Marie Hope said, pretty interesting story. Oh, Lawrence from New Zealand. So I guess it's, oh yes. Hello, Lawrence. I know who this is. Nice that you are joining us from New Zealand. Very nice. So well done, Evelyn. Well done. All right, next up is Sparrow Schmidt. Sparrow, come to the mic.
Hello. I'm Sparrow, and my family and I were missionaries in Panama, on an island off of Panama. And today I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of some art pieces that I've done this year.
Excellent. So I'm just going to go in the order I received them. All right, Sparrow. Okay, so tell us, what is this first piece?
This is a picture of Faustine, I think, and it's done in charcoal.
Look at those details. Wow. Do you use different levels of charcoal?
Sorry. Well, I use like fine charcoal and charcoal pencils and yeah, different like charcoal products.
Beautiful. Comment came in. This is the detail is crazy. Wow. Wonderful detail. I love the use of shadows, Sophie Ludwig. That's really beautiful. You put it and blended the shadows really well. It looks like you made stone pop out from the paper, Mrs. Hoffman said. And Katie Johansson says, wow. Very impressive. All right.
This is a still life with some apples done in soft pastel.
Beautiful.
Christina says, is that actually real? What?
Yeah, I need a snack. I think I'll reach it.
That's really beautiful, Sparrow.
Yeah. And especially the light, how it casts that shadow, right? Because the light coming through here and casts that shadow. It's beautiful. It's very lovely. Good control of your pastels, Mrs. Hoffman. The shine on the apples, big applause from Louisa Turner. The gradient is beautiful from Mrs. Johansson. Anastasia Frick, I agree. She said, I'm hungry. I'm hungry too. Elsa, what do you think?
I think it's really good. It looks like actual apples, and I'm really impressed because I'm really bad at pastels myself. So I have a lot of respect for anyone who can actually use pastels well. So very good job.
Nice. Thank you. Jaden?
That was really good because, well, I don't even know what a pastel is. And second, if I tried to do something like that, it would turn out like a stop sign.
You know, someone wrote, the apples come to life. They look as though they have been taken straight from an anime. Ooh, that's a good point, Sophia Hernandez. That's a very good point. I agree there. Good. Nice job, Sparrow. Oh, look at this one. Whoa.
This one is a Japanese line drawing. So I actually had to draw it upside down, which is a challenge our art teacher gave us. It's actually a lot harder than it sounds because she challenged us to look at the shapes and not thinking about what they are, just like what the shapes are. And so that was pretty hard. And then we did.
So you drew this upside down, Sparrow?
Yes. So I had a printout of someone else's drawing of it, and then I took measurements with my pencil, but I had to draw it upside down, which was complicated but really fun. And then I did something called a grisaille layer, which is like you color the whole thing in black colored pencil, And so you can see on the dress, like part of it's darker. So that's you colored darker with the colored pencil, which makes it just come out more shaded, if you know what I mean.
Beautiful. I just really love how, you know, like the bamboo shoots here, how they're broken up. I don't know, my eye is drawn to that. Because I'm like, how is that possible? And yet it is. Jaden, did you have a comment?
Once again, really awesome. All of the colors contrast so well, it just pops out.
Yeah, it really does. We got a lot of messages coming in. I can't draw when it's not upside down. This is very excellent. It's so pretty. Tell her I love it. So talented. So very, very nice job, Sparrow. It is lovely. Remind me, Sparrow, where are you all at? I forgot. I know you're not stateside, right?
Yeah, we're missionaries on an island off the coast of Panama. I think it's called Bocas del Toro on
Yeah.
Isla Bastimentos. We actually live on a sailboat, which is really fun.
Yes, I was trying to remember and then I kind of forgot. So that's wonderful. So thank you so much, Sparrow. Very, very nice work. Very nice work. All right,
Thank you.
next, you're welcome. Next, we have Natasha and Zoya Riker. And actually, they're going to do separately, but their pieces kind of correspond. But Natasha's going to fill us in on that. Natasha.
So I'm Natasha, and I take several SRS classes and one School A class. So basically, me and my sister kind of wrote this piece together. It's a book where there are two sides to the story, and it's about like, well, you'll see what it's about.
Hey, very good. All right, so let's share. Whenever you're ready.
Faith Arson waited in the cafeteria line at the St. Bridget Academy for girls. It was lined with delicious smelling food, which normally would make her stomach growl, but today it felt way too jittery for food. Today was the history challenge for the Learning Wars, as a series of contests where students from 2 different academies answered questions related to history, music, and many other subjects. Faith had signed up for theology, art, and history. Faith actually went to the same academy, but this year the contests were being held at St. Bridget's. What are you getting? Faith looked around, wondering if the question was addressed to her. I don't know, said another voice. I want a Fanta, but the ginger tea also looks good. I meant about the actual food, said the first voice. Faith realized that the 2 girls talking were the 2 girls in front of her. One had red hair and the other blonde. They weren't from the St. Cassianis because they looked like her age and she had never seen them in any of her classes before. Just then, the line moved up and our attention was diverted from the girl. Rice and lentils or vegetable dumplings, dearie? Asked the cafeteria lady. Dumplings, please, said Faith. If she had to get food, were better than lentils. She moved down the line and picked up a strawberry lemonade, which sounded better than a Coke or Sprite. When she was done choosing, she looked around and chose a table near one of the huge windows overlooking the grounds. It was also the table next to the one with the girl and her friend from the line sitting at it. She sat down and then got up and waved as she saw her roommate for St. Cassiani's, Jenny. But Faith didn't keep her attention off the girl. You'd better hurry, Faith, said Jenny, pulling Faith out of her thoughts. What? Why? Asked Faith, momentarily disoriented. The history challenge is right after lunch and you need to be there early. Oh, yeah, right, said Faith, the jittery feeling coming back. She got up from the table, noticing that the girl she had been watching also got up and returned her tray. Then she hurried to her room and got changed into her uniform. She brushed and braided her hair. She looked in the mirror and smoothed onto her skirt for good measure. She walked out of the room and headed toward the auditorium. There were 4 girls there already. 2 wore the St. Cassiani uniform, and 2 wore the St. Bridget uniform. Hi, said one of the girls, looking at Faith. She wore the St. Cassiani uniform, and Faith recognized her from most of her classes. Once she had seen the grade given back to the girl on the history test. She had gotten a 99% on it, almost perfect. The girl introduced herself as Hannah J. One by one, all the girls introduced themselves. There was Daniela Carson. Two more girls came in, Catherine Hark and Anna May. Are you excited? Hannah asked. Mostly nerves. Same. Students, Principal Maria appeared behind the group of girls. Please make your way backstage. You will receive further instruction there. The girls obediently went backstage and found a woman waiting for them. She wore a pretty pink blouse and a flowered skirt. Her brown hair was pulled up and away from her face. She handed each of them a tiny microphone and told them to pin it to their collars. Please wait here until you hear your name and then walk onto the stage and stand behind the podium with your name on it. There you will find a button to press if you know the answer to the question. Only press it if you know the answer. The girls nodded and waited. Faith's butterflies seemed ready to explode in her stomach. She heard the other students filing into the auditorium. Then she heard Principal Maria's voice once again booming over the expectant audience, repeating the same welcoming speech she had the night before. She started calling their contestants' names. Hannah J. Squeezed Faith's hand and walked onto the stage. Josephine Carson. One by one, the girls left. At last, it was only Catherine Hark, Faith. Faith Arson. Faith swallowed and walked onto stage. The lights almost blinded her, and she squinted. She looked around, hoping that her podium would be close so that she wouldn't have to blunder around looking for it. Then she noticed that under her feet there were arrows that pointed to where she should go. One was labeled SB Girls, and the other was labeled SK Girls. She followed the purple one that was labeled SK Girls and found her podium at the end of the three with her name on it and on a card in bold black letters. She looked out toward the audience and saw Jenny smiling at her. She smiled back. Principal Maria started firing off questions. She asked about the U.S. presidents in World War II, and Faith answered them as best she could, or some of the other girls beat her to it. The final question was about a certain area in the U.S. that had a lot of dust storms and during the Great Depression. Faith thought and answered. It was incorrect. Then Anna answered. It was also incorrect. The two fired off answer after answer, trying to get it right. Then Hannah answered, the Dust Bowl. It was right, and Faith's heart sank. She had been tied with Anna, and she had lost. The audience cheered and clapped. Faith saw Jenny looking at her with a thumbs up and a huge smile, probably trying to cheer her up. Faith strained and smiled at Anna. When they were backstage, she shook her hand. Good job, she said. Thanks, Anna, said Anna. But you were great, too. Thanks, answered Faith. Faith, you were amazing, said Jenny, running up to her and wrapping her in a hug. I couldn't have ever memorized the stuff you did. Jenny was acting as if Faith had won, like she hadn't been beaten by Anna, which she approved. And now it was time to watch the other challenges. Which ones were next? She couldn't remember. Her brain was worn out.
Whoa. So I have the distinct pleasure as we're waiting for comments because, you know, I've known Natasha, gosh, 6 years. So I have seen her from the beginning, offer and growing as an author, but what a wonderful young adult piece.
Yeah, you know what, Louisa Turner just said, I love the detail you put into here. And Natasha, that's exactly what I would have said. The detail of your writing is really fabulous. I can really imagine that I'm there in the room with your characters.
Elsa?
I love how you captured the nervousness that Faith felt when she was about to be called up to the podium. This is exactly how I feel on every Taekwondo test I've ever been in, which is only 2, when your name gets called and you have to run up to the front as fast as you can, and it's so scary. So this made me think of that, and that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. So very good job. I really like it.
Yeah, I think you make a very good point, Elsa. It's relatable. We can feel like the lights almost blind her. You know, we've felt that before, that you're on stage and the lights come up and you're like, you can't see the audience, right? And it's just beautiful the way you worded this. And I definitely do see the allusion to myself, and the mannerisms of myself are spot on. So well done. Mrs. Johansson and Katie said, we love the dialogue. Wow, that was really great. And Anastasia is like, they are my cousins. I didn't get the detailed writing genes. Well, we all have gifts, Anastasia. We all have gifts. And then that was so thorough and well thought of. So Mrs. Hoffman said, I like that they were firing off questions and answers. It made it exciting. Absolutely. Thomas?
I just wanted to say it was really amazing.
Very nicely done. Now I'm so interested, Natasha, because you said, it's from different perspectives. It reminds me of the book. If you can choose anything, Be Kind. What was it called? Kind? I forget which author it is, but they did different perspectives from different people within the story. So let's hear Zoya. Zoya, come to the mic and just share something about yourself, and then you can start reading your piece.
I'm Zoya. I live in Virginia, and I wrote this book with Natasha. So yeah. Cecilia ran down the hall. She was late to class, and she knew it. Cecilia turned the corner and darted into her classroom. The last bell rang just as she slipped into her chair. She tried to grow as small as she could so that Miss Catherine wouldn't see her. It didn't work. Cecilia Jones, what have we told you about running in the hall? This is the third time you've been late to class. What is it this time? Said an exasperated Miss Catherine. I'm sorry, Miss Catherine. I truly am. It's just that I stayed up super late last night doing homework, that I accidentally overslept, Cecilia. Just make sure it doesn't happen again, said Miss Catherine, turning to the board. Today we're learning how to solve a two-variable equation. As Miss Catherine spoke, Cecilia drifted off. She thought about tonight's softball practice. She was hoping to ask Coach Esther about letting her do extra third baseman practice while the rest of the team was warming up. Cecilia was 12 years old and in the 7th grade at St. Bridget Academy for Girls. She had reddish brown hair and green eyes. She was the 5th oldest in her family of 9. Her older brother John was 18 and away at college in England. He was studying to be a college physics professor. Her 2 little sisters, Sadie and Julia, were 16 and obsessed with being movie stars. Her older sister Maria was 24 and often fenced, studying to be a fashion designer. Then there were the twins. Joseph and Miriam were 8 and were growing more annoying each year. Her dad was an engineer and her mother a seamstress owned her own dress shop. Cecilia had been glad to escape from the bustle of everyday life, escape to St. Bridget's, but she had been sad to leave good old Juneau, Alaska behind. To get to St. Bridget's, Cecilia had to catch a train to Seattle, Washington. From there to fly to Omaha, Nebraska, where she had to catch another flight to Washington, D.C., from where she had to take a taxi to Richmond. From there, take a train down to the border between North Carolina and Virginia. And there finally was the St. Bridget Academy for Girls. Cecilia! Cecilia was yanked from her daydreaming by Miss Catherine talking to her. Pay attention. I don't want to have to ask you again. Now, if x equals y and x equals 2, what would y equal? Said Miss Catherine. 2, said Cecilia. The bell rang just then, and there was a mad rush to be the first out the door. Cecilia grabbed her bags and hurried out the door. Once outside the door, Cecilia broke into a mad run down the corridor. Cecilia rushed up the stairs to her dorm and grabbed a change of clothes. All the students had to wear a red polo shirt with the school's logo on it, a rose with the book on it. They also had to wear either a skirt or a pair of shorts. Cecilia grabbed a bottle of water and rushed out the door and into the brilliant clear skies of Virginia. Cecilia had a couple of hours of free time since she was in the 7th grade. She knew just how to use it. Pushing past the dorms and the stables, Cecilia raced down the steps leading to the beach. Racing across the sand, Cecilia thought this was life. Halfway down the beach, Cecilia slowed. Then she plopped down onto the sand and let her imagination go wild. She had started at St. Bridget's in 6th grade, and now that she was in the 7th, she couldn't come here often. She had classes to keep up with, and she had softball practice 2 times a week and now swimming 3 times a week. She also had orchestra practice, and this year she was taking Russian. She was also taking horseback riding lessons. Every Saturday, she and her friends joined the other students taking lessons. They were getting really good. Then Cecilia fell asleep.
Whoa. Oh, I love how these intertwine. I really love how these intertwine. Elsa?
I can totally relate with everything that is busy about 7th grade, because I'm in 7th grade right now, and it's the end of the year and final tests, and I'm so scared. Anyway, not to bore you with my life.
Thank you for sharing. It's never a bore. I love that you relate to this, and I think that's so true. The line that I was like, oh yeah, that's happened to me, was this one for me. Cecilia was yanked from her daydreaming by Mrs. Catherine talking to her. I love the imagery about that, right? It just is so relatable to me. Thomas.
First of all, I just wanted to say it was really good. Second of all, I want to ask, are you gonna have the two characters meet at some point?
Ah.
Yes, actually, this was only just 2 chapters, but later in the book, they meet.
Very intuitive of you, Thomas. Sparrow?
You guys are both so incredibly talented, and I love this story so much.
In the Q&A box, we have, I love how the stories are corresponding. I love how they are connected. I love it when the books are connected like this. There's so much story that it is revealed and that gives the scenes new meaning. I agree, Louisa Turner. It is so true. This is so relatable. Wow, seamless. And then Mrs. Hoffman said, I was impressed with your working out of the transportation between Alaska and Virginia. I love that. Rosie?
I really liked how this was not too action filled. It was just basically about everyday life.
Yes.
And the words that you chose for certain moments were really good.
Yes, I concur. I concur. And it's just written just as if it was you and Natasha having the discussion, or you and Natasha sharing a day in your life, which is beautiful. Well done to you, Zoya. Well done to you, Natasha. Well done. Next up to come and tell us about himself is Joseph Wingert. Oh, I always pronounce your last name wrong.
Do you need me to help you?
Yes.
Wingerter.
Thank you.
right.
Wingerter. I have to remember German. Hard G.
Yes. Okay. My name is Joseph Wingerter, though I'm under the pen name Seraphim Mercy, and I'm ending my first year with SRS. I've written 30-something odd books, but only roughly 8 of them were actually finished. This is chapter 1 of a novel that I intend to publish. So I'm working on it. I've run this book through about 1,000,000.7 people, and the book's its pending name is The Viper Plot. And it's about a 13-year-old boy who has to get rid of his bitterness with the past to accept friendship and other people on a mission to ultimately save the world. It's a little bit sci-fi, but not to the extreme. It's finished. Like, I finished it a while ago, but it's almost 200 pages, so you know, a little bit long.
So 3 pages you're going to read. Do you want to read from the front? Because it's 14 pages. So is there a specific part you want to read, or do you want to read from the beginning?
I don't really care.
Okay, let's read from the beginning and then give them a cliffhanger. Those of you that are here, we will work out. You can reach out to the authors of all of these wonderful things, or reach out to me if you would like to also have a copy to finish the rest of it. So, all right, here we go.
Okay. Chapter 1. The atmosphere of the countryside was peaceful. Birds chirped in the trees, and somewhere in the distance a cow wailed. The world in this particular spot of country had been like this for days, up until today. Now the air was proclaiming something new, something exciting. A faint rumble was gradually getting louder, and for a brief moment, a fire engine red pickup appeared over a hill and then dipped back down. Silence engulfed the air, save for the rumbling truck, as if the whole world was holding its breath in anticipation for whatever was coming. The roar of the truck's engine became louder as it suddenly came into view over a hill, its joints groaning from exertion. Brown, rusty stains spattered the old pickup, and while the pickup had appeared to be bright red from a distance, closer up an observer would now notice that it was scratched and slightly faded. The pickup jounced heavily down the road, rattling noisily as it went. It suddenly hit an especially hard bump on the solid packed dirt road, and a screw popped out of the tailgate, landing with a soft plink onto the ground and rolling recklessly down the road before circling several times and dropping in the center of the road. Then the pickup was gone, and the country returned to normal. From inside the pickup, Maximilian Howard Green III felt uncomfortably too much like that screw. He was heading into the unknown in the same reckless fashion. He wasn't in control, and he felt very alone. He watched as the screw receded from view and then disappeared entirely. Max pursed his lips, sighed quietly, and turned back to the inside of the car. He absently rubbed a pink scar on the underside of his angular chin, tracing it until it ended right beneath his left cheek. The man who had picked Max up from the orphanage glanced in the shattered mirror above him at his passenger, his wide shoulders nearly blocking Max's view of it. The man studied the quiet boy in the back seat, taking in his build. Everything about Max spoke the word thin. His build, his slightly tanned face, even his green eyes were at the moment narrowed into slits. At the same moment the driver was studying Max, Max was studying the driver. While everything about Max had thin, everything about the driver, Gerald Whalebone, Max now remembered his name was, seemed to say powerful. Wide shoulders, thick biceps, square jaw. Max brushed his shaggy black hair away from his forehead and frowned as he saw Mr. Whalebone making eye contact with him in the mirror. "We're almost there, Maximilian," Mr. Whalebone said. To Max, it sounded like he was just trying to start a conversation. Or maybe he was hoping his quiet partner would say, "Please, call me Max." Max didn't. Max wasn't normally a moody boy. In fact, he had heard himself described in almost opposite terms. Being with strangers, in fact, being with most people, made him suddenly very quiet. On the other hand, he half-jokingly argued with himself, he should have the right to be temperamental. Who wouldn't with a name like Maximilian Howard Green? And some crazy person had tacked on that the third, too. "The school's around the next bend, Maximilian." Mr. Whalebone shuffled his hand around his coat, producing a spotless white handkerchief with which he mopped his bald pate several times. Max bit his lip to keep himself from chuckling. The unexpected cleanliness of the handkerchief looked remarkably odd next to Mr. Whalebone's attire. He wore a tattered jacket and muddy jeans, as well as fingerless gloves that had seen better days. Or maybe they hadn't. Maybe they came that way. Max smirked slightly and nodded in response to Mr. Whalebone's statement. They'd been driving for hours, and he was going to be happy to get out of the bouncy old pickup, and out of the way of Mr. Whalebone's numerous attempts at conversation. Max stretched his legs, glancing at his tattered sneakers as he did. He half smiled. The sneakers had seen better days, just like Mr. Whalebone's clothing. On the other hand, they'd also seen much worse days than today. Much worse. Shouting voices, grabbing hands, steel being drawn. Max reached down and fingered a hole in his sneaker. The knife had gone right through there, gashing his foot. It was a good reminder of his goal. "I'm not out of the way, Bill. I'm still after you." He took his finger out of the hole and gently patted the sneaker. His shoes had seen a lot, but they were a comfort for it. Max looked up and saw a building approaching on the horizon. Ah, the Ninja Academy. Max rolled his eyes as he pulled a small brochure out of his suitcase, reading it once more. He shook his head, which he did every time he read it. Ninjas were for kids. Then again, at 13 years old, Maximilian Howard Green III could be described as a kid. Once again, as it had several times on this ride, Max's mind ran over and over again how he ended up here. "Congratulations," Max had heard Miss White, the orphanage director, read. "Maximilian Howard Green III has been found worthy by our scouts to attend the Cabot Ninja Academy." Is that it?
That's it. Again, I'm gonna read the rest of this because I have a copy. So I will read the rest of this. Dr. Aaron, my goodness, what writers we have in our.
I mean, I'm really astonished. You all are just amazing writers. And someone said this earlier about one of the others, but I would pay money for this too.
Yes.
I'm absolutely captivated by your writing.
This is
Really.
very Dickensian. It's very, to me, it reminds me of Dickens, You know, the names that you give your characters, how it's like the average run of the mill, you know, let's just talk about the day. I really love this. And this line here, as well as fingerless gloves that had seen better days, or maybe they hadn't. Maybe they came that way. Whoa. Amazing. Just saying.
You have some nice comments here. Let me share a couple of them. From Sophia Hernandez. I love this. I have been waiting to hear it for what feels like forever, and I've really enjoyed reading and watching your growth as a writer over the past school year. I look forward to seeing the Viper plot earn a place on my favorite bookshelf soon. Congrats and a belated happy anniversary to your parents. Thank you, Miss Hernandez. That's so lovely. Louisa Turner says, this is incredible. I've read famous published YA novels that aren't as good as this. Honestly, the quality is astounding. You should publish this, someone says. Ms. Hoffman says, what an intriguing beginning. The cow wailed. How interesting. And also the unexpected cleanliness of the handkerchief. I really like this. I'm absolutely with her. I love your word choice, and your turn of phrase is really fabulous.
Lydia Knight wrote, that is great. It hooks you on the very first sentence. The style paints a picture in your head. Love it. I can't bear all the cliffhangers. I'm so sorry, Anastasia. But there are going to be cliffhangers. All right, Zoya, comment.
That was so good. You can't leave it at that. I need a more.
Tell you what, we will make a post on the Scholé Academy, right? That will have a link to all of these pieces. Okay, and that way you can reach and read them. So don't worry, we'll do that. Thomas.
I just feel like, and this is to everyone who shared a book they're writing or finished writing, that I feel like when listening to these, that someday I'm gonna grow up and then hear your names as famous authors and then remember that I came here and heard some of your books.
What a beautiful sentiment, Thomas. Yeah, I'm with you. I am with you. What a beautiful sentiment. Elsa.
I was going to ask how much the book cost, but I guess as it's just being put out for free on the Scholé thing, I don't need
only
to
chapter one,
buy it.
Elsa.
Oh
only
man, only chapter one. Only the preview. So tell me how much it costs.
Joseph.
It doesn't cost anything yet because it's not been published yet, but it will be sometime in the near future, hopefully this year.
Don't forget us little people, Joseph. Don't forget where it all started. Open mic night. Natasha.
Oh, I really like how you compared the boy to the screw, because at the beginning I thought the whole story was going to be about a boy in the countryside, but then you switched transitions and it was about the boy in the truck. So I really liked that.
And it also is, I don't know if this is too far-fetched, but the writing style, although the setting is different, is very reminiscent of Tolkien too, because he describes every single thing, right? Every part, every plant. But of course, this is a modern story, and it's like you said, sci-fi in a way. It just reads really well. Thomas?
I'm really interested in, like, I'm wondering, it says he was at an orphanage, but it also sounds like he was somewhere else. for a bit of it, like I'm wondering, like his background seems kind of mysterious.
Hmm. Did you want to speak on that, Joseph? Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Joseph. Very, very well done. Very well done. All right. Rosie is next. Rosie, come to the mic. Rosie Turner.
I'm Rosie Turner. I'm 11. I take classes from SRS, Skole, and 3 other schools. I take Greek 1 and Orthodox Saints, Nature, and Their Animal Friends. I'm presenting Conrad von Tannenberg, which is a paraphrase I wrote for one of my classes, and it's one of my best paraphrases, I think.
Can you explain to those that don't know what a paraphrase is, what exactly it is?
It's basically a rewriting of a story. It can be a fable or a narrative. It's just a rewriting, basically.
Okay.
And I took this straight from what I submitted, so I'm not going to be reading like the prosopopoea and things. I'm just going to be reading it. And I made like a few just small grammar edits. So yeah.
So really quick, Anastasia Frick asked, like in your own words, yes. She has taken the story and now has written it in her own words. All right, go ahead, Rosie.
Okay. Conrad von Tannenberg by J.W. Wolfe. Retold by Rosie C. Turner. At the foot of a great mountain that ruled over all the hills and valleys and rivers in sight was Tannenberg Castle, where lived Sir Conrad von Tannenberg and all his servants and guards. I, too, lived there, for I was the wife of Sir Conrad. One day, after taking a cheerful walk in the garden while rain poured from the sky, I entered the castle, quite drenched, with a small cough. Before long, I was gravely sick, spending my days laying miserably in my bed. My husband came to me with a determined look on his face and declared, "My dear Anne Else, I faithfully promise that, if you shall recover from this frightful illness, I shall travel to the Holy Grave and fight those who go against God." Soon I recovered to my full strength. Before long, Conrad departed on his pilgrimage. Year after year I waited for Conrad, and year after year he did not come. After Conrad had gone, many knights came to propose to me because of my wealth and beauty. I turned all of them down, and soon they all despised me and my faithfulness to Conrad. One day, a pilgrim came up to the gates of the castle, seeking shelter. In the dining hall, I gave him good food for his empty stomach. I asked him many questions about his pilgrimage, for he, too, had journeyed to the Holy Grave. I also asked him if he knew anything about my husband, and his reply placed hope in my heart, for he told me that my husband was still alive, but was taken captive by pirates in Turkey. I determined that I would not rest until my husband was found, and so journeyed to Turkey in the disguise of a man with a harp. Soon I discovered where my husband was. I located my husband's master and walked up to him. I asked if I could play him a tune, and the Turk granted permission. I played him a beautiful tune which could charm the ugliest beast on earth. He told me that, because I had played such beautiful music, he would give me anything I desired. I replied, "Give me naught but a slave to tend to me." The Turk lined up many slaves and presented them to me. Quickly I recognized my husband and selected him. So together we sailed back to our homeland. However, for the whole voyage he had no knowledge of who I was. When we were near Tannenberg Castle, I released my slave with some money. I rushed back home to arrive before Conrad. Swiftly I dressed into women's clothes. Before long, Conrad arrived at the castle, and there were many hugs and kisses. The next day, a feast was hosted. At the table, Conrad told his story, how he had been captured by pirates at sea, made a slave, and rescued by a mysterious musician. After the story, the knights, speaking quietly to themselves, but so all could hear, muttered, "How can Conrad be so hearty when his life has been leading a vulgar life, pretending to be a man?" Raging, Conrad jumped up, drew his sword, and rushed towards me. I ran for our bedroom, and just in time I locked the door. For some time he pounded on it, shouting for me to come out, but finally he left to attend the feast. I then put on my men's clothes, took my harp, and walked into the dining hall. I played such wonderful music for the guests that all stared at me in wonder. Conrad recognized me as the one who had saved him, and jumped up and into my arms, praising me and giving thanks. I then set down my harp and threw off my men's clothes, which I had put above my dress. I exclaimed, "It is I, Lady Anne Else, your faithful wife." The knights who had been gossiping shamefully returned home, not wanting to show their faces at the feast. Never before had there been such a cheerful feast in those parts.
Very nicely done. Can I say that I like this better than the original? I don't know. Dr. Aaron, can I say that?
I think you can definitely say that. This is how we become writers. We improve upon that which we have read, right? That's how we continue to build better and better writers. This is really, really beautiful, Rosie.
Yes, very well done. Again, I love the tension you create here between her and society, right? The conflict of woman versus society and the norms that are what we are supposed to stay within in this era. Very nicely done. You have lots of applause. Leela wrote, "I remember you, Rosie, from Scolay's Classic History last year. You were always so smart and authentic, so well done." We have, "Your language is exquisite. I'm so proud of you," Louisa Turner. Mrs. Johansson, "That was amazing. Woohoo, so amazing. More Turner love here. You deserve all the chicken wings." Oh, Christina. Yes, and the descriptions were great. Were very good. So well written and perfect punctuation. And Mrs. Fortier said, "I had never heard this story before. I really enjoyed it." And Sophie Ludwig said, "Awesome." So well done. Well done. I really enjoyed that as well. We do have a hand. Elsa?
I loved it. It was really beautiful. And the end was so heartwarming and amazing. Really good job.
Very, very nice job. Well done, Rosie. Well done. Next up, I'm really excited about because last year, Elsa did the Mayo Monster, the original, right? The original. And so now we have the number 2. And I'm so excited because Mayo Monster was so good last year. So let me pull this up. But while I'm doing that, Elsa, come to the mic and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Elsa Hoffman, and I live in Erie, Pennsylvania. And I try to be a writer, but I fail because I can't actually finish any books. So I just congratulate everyone who can.
Well, writers come in all shapes and sizes, Elsa. Writers come in all shapes and sizes. And, you know, if we take from Emily Dickinson, she didn't even write in a proper book. She wrote on scraps of paper she found. So, you know, writers come in different shapes and sizes. Mrs. Turner wrote, as someone who writes, finishing books can be the hardest thing to do sometimes. There you go. So tell us about the Mayo Monster 1, if you can give a quick summary of that, and then that'll kind of set us up for Mayo Monster 2.
Well, the first Mayo Monster all started when a young girl was sitting at her table eating a tuna sandwich. Well, apparently this tuna sandwich was made with mayonnaise, and a Mayo Monster appeared out of the mayonnaise and chased her to a train track where she had to dangle upside down by her feet to escape from the Mayo Monster while a train was going over her head before walking home on her hands. The Mayo Monster 2 is, I would like to say it's different in some respects. In some respects, it is not. But I hope you enjoy it.
Well, I really enjoy Mayo Monster 1, so I'm looking forward to this.
The Mayo Monster 2. I did not eat any mayonnaise. Actually, this is not true because I did eat mayonnaise today. Weird situation. I thought I wouldn't actually eat mayonnaise the day I presented this, but I did. So bear with me here. I did not eat any mayonnaise. I mean, I didn't eat any mayonnaise today, and by that I mean I didn't eat any today, and I did eat some during the time of the story, and by that I mean that in the story I did eat mayonnaise, and by that I mean you should all blame me for why there was a Mayo Monster in my house. So, a Mayo Monster in my house. Where should I begin? Oh, yes, the sandwich. I was sitting on my chair in my house eating a sandwich. It was a tuna sandwich with mustard and cheese, and you guessed it. Mayonnaise, you cry. Yes, it was mayonnaise. Yummy, creamy, chives-filled mayonnaise. I was just about to take a bite of my sandwich when the Mayo Monster, though maybe it should be Mayo Monster 2, climbed through the window. I dropped my sandwich and then ran as fast as I possibly could out the door, which the Mayo Monster could have totally gone through. Well, as we all know, Mayo Monsters are very afraid of heights. So all I had to do was get somewhere high. I knew the Mayo Monster wouldn't fall for a trick like the train track like last time. But where would I go? Then I thought, the most beautiful thing in the entire world. Ice cream sundae, you ask? Of course not! I mean, there was an ice cream sundae out on the porch, but that's not what I meant. Though I did mean something about ice cream, but at the moment I wasn't trying to mean that. It was a trampoline? You say, no! Though there was that trampoline in the backyard. How do you know so much about my house? Which isn't even my real house because it's totally made up for this story. Yes, I do eat ice cream sandwiches for dinner. Ahem! Anyway, my eyes were captivated by the beauty of, drum roll and no interruptions please, a tree! Yes, it was a tree, one of the tallest trees in the world. It stood exactly 12 inches high. Oh, wait, that's not the right tree. One of the tallest trees, the other tree in the yard of the other 82 that were there, it stood 7 meters high. As I said before, Mayo Monsters are very afraid of heights, so I climbed the tree all the way to the top and held onto the top branch. The Mayo Monster thwarted yet again, sighed a long, very long, slobbery and wet sigh, then slunk away into the evening. Well, then there I was in the tree, but a woodcutter who hadn't seen me in the tree was getting firewood for his wood burner. There I was in his tree, and he was about to chop it in half. I shook in my socks because I hadn't put my shoes on when I left the house, and clenched my eyes shut, waiting for the woodcutter to chop down the tree. Now, as advice to all you people out there, if you don't like being in a tree while a woodcutter is cutting it down, well, don't be in a tree while a woodcutter is cutting it down. Anyway, I was holding on to the top of the tree, hanging on for dear life as the woodcutter chopped and chopped and chopped. The tree was halfway chopped through when I realized that if I just climbed down the tree, the woodcutter would stop chopping and I'd be safe to go. So I climbed down and said to the woodcutter, Hello, Mr. Woodcutter. Can you stop chopping the wood so I can get down from the tree and go home to my ice cream sundae, which I want to eat for dessert after my ice cream sandwich? Well, you want to get down from the tree? Can't you just wait until I chop down the tree and then you can get down? Mr. Woodcutter, sir, what's your name? I'm Chuck Wood, and I chop wood. Wait, you chop wood, but your name is Chuck Wood? Does anyone ever call you? I know, you're gonna ask if anyone calls me Woodchuck. So, do you chuck wood? Of course I don't chuck wood, I chop wood. Then why don't they call you Woodchop? Well, that wouldn't make any sense, would it? Anyway, I need a woodchuck to chuck wood into the back of my truck. Just then, the Mayo Monster popped out of the forest and said, "What? You want a woodchuck? This is a great job opportunity for me. Would you really want to be my woodchuck? That's great. Let's have an interview. So, sir, what's your name?" "My name is Mayo Monster. Because, well, actually, I don't even know why that's my name. Actually, I think it's Mayo Monster too. I don't know why. Probably there was some kind of Mayo Monster that came before me." Chuck Wood continued to interview the Mayo Monster, and I couldn't help but listen while Chuck Wood said, "So, what do you usually do for jobs? Do you have a resume or something?" "Well, I usually just chase little girls around if they eat sandwiches." "Do you know why you do that?" "Well, no, not really." "Well, that makes no sense." At that time, I realized that I had a perfect escape opportunity, but I realized that my socks were all soaked because it had been raining just a few minutes ago, and the ground was all wet. So I had to walk home on my hands. So I started going home walking on my hands when I heard the Mayo Monster say, "Oh, 1 minute, Mr. Woodchuck, sir. I have to go chase that girl over there." "Why would you do that?" Chuck Wood said. "Also, I'm not the woodchuck, you're the woodchuck. I chop the wood and you chuck the wood into my truck." "That makes sense. But I need to go chase that girl now." "Well, if that's all it takes, if you took my wood into my truck, then I'll help you chase the girl." "Really? Even though I'm chasing this little girl for reasons even I don't understand?" "Well, if you put it that way, then probably not." "Oh, man, I might as well just help you with your wood now." "Really? That's great." "Just kidding. I have to go chase this girl." "Oh, man, but I need someone like you to help me unstuck my stuck Chuck truck." Then I was in a real crisis because I had a Mayo Monster chasing me, and Chuck's truck was stuck in the muck, and he had really bad luck, and I couldn't help but feel bad for him. But I had to run away from the Mayo Monster while running on my hands, and the Mayo Monster was actually Mayo Monster too. Then the Mayo Monster realized that he should help Chuck unstuck his truck, and they pulled and pulled on their truck, but couldn't get it out. So I went up to them on my hands and said, "Here, gentleman and not so gentle monster, let me help you with this truck." So eventually, we got that truck out of the muck, and the Mayo Monster said, "You know, you're not such a bad girl after all, and if you promise not to eat any more sandwiches with mayonnaise, then I won't chase you anymore." But then I said, "No, that won't work at all, because I like eating mayonnaise way too much. Why don't you just become like a chives monster or something?" "I don't know," Mayo Monster said. "I don't really understand anything about myself because my brain is made with mayo." "Well, I suppose that's all right then, because you don't have to chase me around, right?" "I suppose so," the Mayo Monster said. So then I was about to go home when Chuck Wood said, "But I still..." Oh, that was the wrong voice. "But I still need someone to chuck wood in my Chuck truck." And the Mayo Monster said, "I thought I was gonna chuck wood into your Chuck truck." "Oh yeah," Chuck said. "I think you're actually a pretty nice guy since we had an interview and everything." And the Mayo Monster and Chuck got into a very long discussion on how his brains were very large but made entirely out of mayo, and how they needed a woodchuck to chuck wood into the Chuck truck, which was now unstuck from the muck. At this point, I decided I should go home, so I walked home on my hands. When I got home, my hands were very tired, but that was okay, because I just had to sit in my chair and eat my sandwich and my ice cream sundae. The end. Well, before anything else, I just need to say that this book is dedicated to my dad, who gave me a lot of inspiration and helped me make it different from the first book.
Thank you so much, Elsa. I love Mayo Mayo Monster stories. I would buy a whole series of them. So you keep on writing them, and eventually you're going to have a book of short story Mayo Monsters. Mayo Monster short stories. Reverse that. Rosie?
I remember attending last open mic night, and when you read Mayo Monster, it was really cool because it was a different style of writing, but I
Mhm.
really liked it. And this year, when I found out about Mayo Monster 2, I was so excited. And I think your personality really shines through
Yes.
in this story, and it's really, I just really liked it.
Yeah, Rosie, very good comments. Louisa Turner wrote, your storytelling and vocal narrating skills are out of this world, and you have a great insight in the inner workings of the mind and how our thoughts progress. Honestly, you're talented and your rhyme is great, and how well you play with the sounds and everything. I agree. I couldn't stop giggling. And it reminded me, and I love that you break the fourth wall, right? The wall that you reach out and you grab us, and you're like, hey, you're part of this story too. You better watch it because the Mayo Monster is going to come for you next. Thomas.
I just also like how you make it so funny, like by adding in those little details.
Yeah, those details are
Like,
phenomenal.
like, but I don't eat mayonnaise, except I ate it in the story, which means that I did eat mayonnaise.
It's like Judy Bloom meets, oh, I don't know, Dr. Aaron, help me out.
I know there, I was trying the whole time to think if there was an author that I could compare it to.
Mr. Mr. Underpants, who's the author?
I was
that wrote-
thinking of Captain Underpants.
Yeah,
also,
Captain
actually.
Underpants.
Yeah, I was thinking of that too. I have to jump in right now. Elsa, this is so fun, but it is more than fun. I know we're all loving how fun it is, but I have to say that I think the best prose is a little bit poetic. And your prose is quite poetic, maybe in a different way than we sometimes think about, but the way that you use alliteration and assonance and rhyme all embedded in your storytelling,
repetition,
and with your dialogue is really phenomenal. And I mean, the only thing about it is it has to be read by you. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to write a few more of these. I want you to try to publish them. And then you need to get the deal with Audible to do the audiobook, because it has to be in your voice.
Yes.
Really, it's really so fun. I love it.
It's funny that Christina Turner said your voice has made it 200 times better than what it already was. All of the stories will be posted to Canvas tomorrow. Everything that we saw. Anastasia Frick has a great idea. She said, Sparrow, you should illustrate this. I love that idea, right? You have an illustrator too. So you're golden. Thomas gave 2 thumbs up. And Lydia Knight said, oh my goodness, my brother is hooked. Zoya.
I loved it. I especially like the Chuck stuck in the muck. I love that rhyme. And I loved how you did like the different voices. Like for Chuck and the Mayo Monster and then the lead character.
Yeah. Natasha?
I don't know how you read this without stumbling with all the repetition in the rhymes, because if I read this, I'd be stumbling over all the words.
Elsa, are you taking Mr. Diamond's theater class? Oh, well, maybe you should look into that next year. Maybe you should look into that. Catherine?
I just wanted to say that was hilarious. That was just right after my own heart. That was so funny. And your voices are excellent.
Yeah. Joseph?
Yeah, as a student of Mr. Diamond's, we're working on another project that will hopefully be performed at the end of the year as well. And yes, I think Elsa would enjoy it. We're doing script writing, and part 1 was like 40 pages, so we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. That showcase will be posted soon for anyone to join. Rosie?
I must applaud your presentation skills because you, I'm not sure if you were, but you did not sound nervous at all. And the way you read it, you had such confidence. And I feel like that's something I won't have for a long time. And when you had a misspell, you kind of brought yourself together really quickly. And that's a very special skill, I think.
Right, that breaking of that fourth wall is just so beautiful when it's done well. Elsa?
I was only nervous in the beginning when my name was called. And then after that, it all just turned into like the story. And also I was kind of laughing at myself. So I didn't have a lot of time to be nervous.
You did
And I had to
not,
think about the voices too.
you did not disappoint. Mayo Monster 2. We need Mayo Monster 3. You know, we need it. All right. Thank you so much, Elsa. Thank you. Thank you. Next up, Thomas. Thomas Dunning, come to the mic. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, well, I live in Chilliwack, BC, and I have 3 other siblings and a dog. And what I want to read right now is just I think just the first paragraph of a short story I wrote for a writing and rhetoric class at Jewish School and Academy.
Excellent.
During the time of the invasion of the Vandals, between 500 to 100 AD, in a small village in Sicily, a 12-year-old Roman boy named Marcus Julius was playing with his friends in a large grassy field. It was late in the day after school, and the sun was out, warming them as they played. They were on the alert because there had been vandal attacks on a nearby village over the last few months. Suddenly, an arrow hit the ground near his feet. Marcus's best friend, a blue-eyed, blonde, short-haired, short, strong kid named Lucas shouted, "Felix, there is an arrow by your feet." It must have been shot at the village by some vandal. So I'm just going to clarify why he was called Felix. Felix is Marcus's nickname. I also write that here. Marcus said in reply, "I will go to a pater right away." I also added in a bit of Latin just for fun. With that, he ran to go get his father.
Nice. Very nice. I love that you added that Latin there for authenticity. I love that. Very interesting. Oh, and Louisa Turner said the same thing. I love that you added the Latin. I want more. See, you guys can't do this. I want more.
Also,
want more. Natasha?
I'm waiting to see I feel like this could be a very great book.
Oh yeah, I think so. Are you thinking about adding to this, Thomas?
well, actually, I've written it all out. It's just a short story. So it isn't even a proper book, but I do want to print it out.
Beautiful. Mrs. Hoffman said, "I really like the Latin and the historical element. It brought me into the setting." Yeah, I agree. I think also what really drew me was the arrows, right? That put me there, that placed me there. Anastasia, I won't be able to sleep after all these cliffhangers. Ella?
So Thomas is in I'm in the writing and rhetoric class with Thomas, and we wrote like those stories for writing and rhetoric, and it was so fun to write, I think, and I think you did a great job on it.
Very nice. Very good comment. Very good. Anything else for Thomas? Thomas, very nicely done. Very nicely done. Joseph?
Yes, it was very well done. I did want to say Thomas had a question for me about my book, and then I got kicked off because of bad internet. So if he wants to contact me somehow after this with his question, then I might be able to answer it then.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Okay, we did this one. Thomas?
I just wanted to say I could send you the rest of it.
That would be great. That would be great. Thank you. All right. Next up is Catherine Moran. Catherine, come to the mic.
Hi, I'm Catherine Moran, and this is my first year with School A, and last semester I took children's book illustration with Miss Silkwood, and now I'm currently in her watercolor class, and so these pieces I've done kind of over that period.
She is an amazing instructor. I'm actually going to take private lessons from her.
Oh, awesome. That's great. Yeah.
Right.
So this was actually a piece that we painted in class as an exercise. And yeah, I just really liked it. And I think I chose it because, I mean, it's like an apple and apples go to school. So yeah, it was
Makes
really
sense.
fun to do.
Louisa Turner says she loves the shine, and I agree that, you know, it really does look like you polish this apple. It's beautifully done. It's very beautifully done. Joseph?
Yeah, I haven't had dinner yet, and I wish I hadn't seen that because I'm getting very hungry.
Oh, geez. Zoya?
I love the different the different shades and different colors you use. Like you didn't make it all red. You made it like some yellow, some kind of like orange-ish.
Yeah, I agree. Elsa?
It looks like an apple. Can I eat it, please?
And we have others about the shine of the apple. The colors are beautiful. I love how it looks dented, Mrs. Hoffman said. So yeah, me too. Like right there, that little impression just makes it look real. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Elsa isn't here. Okay, Natasha, you know what I'm thinking. Sing it, Natasha, sing it. So there's a Kiwi song. So anyway, Catherine, come to the mic.
So yeah, this one probably needs some explaining. So these are actually penguins. They're king penguin chicks. Look them up. They're so
I thought they were Kiwis.
Well,
Okay.
they look kind of similar, but these things they're really weird if you look them up. And I just thought they were funny, and I just started doodling them, and you can just kind of make a little circle of lines, and then it looks like fuzz, and so they're super fast to draw. And so I just like to draw really absurd scenes with them in them. So, and then I watercolor over them.
Yeah, Christina said, love your line work. These are so cute, Louisa says. This is adorable and so clever, Mrs. Johansson and Katie said. Yeah, it's so nicely done.
Catherine, somebody is going to hire you as a children's book illustrator.
Seriously.
At some point in my life, I want to write some children's books, but I'm not an illustrator, so I'm going to come looking for you.
Yep.
Because these are really fabulous.
Yeah,
really, really.
Nicholas?
Okay, I have to say I'm glad they're not Kiwi because I'm feeling what would have happened next, and I would have had to leave the meeting. So I'm glad they're king penguin chicks, not Kiwis. Yeah.
So for those of you that don't realize, when I taught level 4, nature studies, I won't sing the song, Nicholas. Nature studies, we learned about kiwis. And so there's the kiwi song in which to the to the ears of some of the students, they had to endure. Zoya?
Okay, now I really want to hear the song. But these are awesome. I don't know what to accept. They look stuffed animals. They look so like fuzzy. I just want to have a big stuffed animal of one of these.
Yes. Mrs. Hoffman says, what cool illustrations. I feel like I just opened a published children's book. I agree that I want to hire you someday for books I want to publish, Mrs. Fautier said. And Anastasia Frick said, these are incredible. They are not doodles. They are art pieces. Oh my goodness. We are Kiwi. Sorry, couldn't help it. All right, Catherine.
So this is the Great Inflatable Pool Adventure, and it's
Amazing.
kind of based off of something from Shaun the Sheep, but it's kind of my own take on it. So
Catherine, I love this.
Amazing.
So much. Oh my goodness. Do you know, I think Presbyter Jennifer Moore needs to see some of these too, because she's teaching a course next semester about graphic novels and the way art is used in graphic novels. And
yes,
she would love to see your illustrations. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's a graphic novel class next year. So cool. Our New Zealand friend Lauren says extend their beats a bit, and they do look like a real kiwi bird. I think we're all confused. Kiwi, penguin, it's all good. It's all good. The detail, the colors, this is incredible. It really looks like it's moving. I agree. Wow. Unbelievably good. The orange and blue make me feel happy and ready for an adventure. Ah. All right, Evelyn.
Why is there a blue penguin?
So when I first drew this, I just drew all the pen first. And so they all kind of have a way to tell them apart. Like this guy's got sunglasses, that one's got a chair, that one's got floaties. But then there's the two carrying the pool.
I love the floaties.
And I didn't want them getting mixed up in the story, because like the one who's in the back in the first scene is kind of the leader. He's got the cork for the pool. And so I was like, how am I going to tell them apart? And so I just made one blue and with no explanation. And I'm actually currently working on finishing painting the story of how it got turned blue. So,
oh,
this is another list of I will pay money for this.
Me too. These are fabulous.
Yeah. Love them. Nicholas, and then Joseph, and then Elsa.
Okay, I have to say this is like really cool. I like drawing like comic stuff, and like it's like this is way better. Also, I just hope nobody draws any like tacos or anything. So
I have one thing to say. Perhaps the little backstory might be like it wound up playing with some paint or something when it was younger, and it could never really get the dye out of its feathers or something.
Oh.
That's exactly what happened.
There you go.
You guys need to collaborate on a story.
Seriously. I think what we need, Dr. Aaron, is Scholé Publishing.
I actually do too. I keep thinking about that.
Yeah.
You all have such fabulous work to share.
Yes.
Better than a lot of adult work.
And better than mine.
Yeah, mine too.
All right, Elsa.
I think I know why the blue penguin is blue. It's because the blue Mayo monster of Doom turned it blue when it was young.
I love crossover events. Yes. I love crossover events.
Well, actually, Catherine, you could definitely illustrate Mayo Monster too.
Oh, yeah.
Your style would work really well for Mayo Monster.
Yes. Joseph?
Well, first, my mom has been working on children's books for a while. And also, I don't know if you've ever read Tacky the Penguin, but it is a children's book. And I think that Catherine's drawings remind me of Tacky the Penguin.
Okay. We're going to have to look it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that up, definitely.
And Rosie.
That was, I really like that style of art because it would go really well with a children's book and I sometimes want to write a children's book because those are kind of my favorite books. And that would definitely be something that I would use. Like if I made a story like that, that would be something that would definitely be an option.
Beautiful. Well done. Well done. We have so much talent. Those of you in the audience are hanging in there with us. God bless. There's just so much. And these young creative artists in all the ways, I'm just blown away. Blown away. Catherine?
I just wanted to say that I am hoping to go into children's book illustration. Like that's what I want to do.
Well, you have a lot of takers in this room. So, all right. Thomas Athanasis Bean, come to the mic. Tell us about yourself.
Okay. Hey everybody, I'm Thomas. I've been with St. Raphael all my life, all my academic career, and I do both now, Scholé and St. Raphael, dual for 5 years. I'm trilingual in English, Spanish, and Greek. And yeah.
Maybe French.
No, not French. That's Mitza. That's my brother.
Tell us what you're going to be reading.
That's not the right one.
It's not? It's the excerpt you sent me.
Really? I
Yeah.
thought
I do have the whole one.
I sent the non-returning thing. I thought.
This.
Yes.
Okay.
The second chapter. The second chapter.
Second chapter. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Whoops. Is that the second chapter?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll just give a brief summary of the first chapter because that would be ridiculous if I just started jumping in the book and you have no idea what happened in the first like 4 or 5 pages. So basically this is based in a small city, Buffalo in Wyoming. It's a real city. It's a real nice place, been there many times. And pretty much a murder happens at this famous hotel, or another fact, I worked there over the summer. So I got the, full-on tour of everything. So pretty much what happens is you have your 2 protagonists, Chief Hogsmort and Officer Brooks. They've worked together for years. They're great buddies. And Chief Hogsmort is in his last year of duty. So he's going to be retiring soon. So pretty much a murder happens. And the victim is called Mr. Douglas. He is Chief Hogsmort's, or was Chief Hogsmort's, best friend throughout his life. And Mr. Douglas was very rich, very, very rich. And he was mysteriously murdered. And so Chief Hogsmort's trying to figure out where the treasure is because Mr. Douglas hid it somewhere in Wyoming. And eventually Chief Hogsmort has an idea of where it is. And so they're now traveling to Sheridan, another real city. Everything here is real, but the story, like the locations are real.
All right.
Life is a highway. Officer Brooks woke up with semi-automatic in his hands and listening to Life is a Highway. He looked at the chief, who was driving about 15 miles over the speed limit and drinking a can of Coors Light. Officer Brooks tried to sit a little more upright in his seat. He took a deep breath and exhaled. The truck was perfect. The seats were made out of leather and the AC was flowing perfectly. He turned to the chief once more. Chief, I don't think you should be running over the speed limit and taking down a beer at the same time. The chief just laughed and put the truck another added 5 miles over the speed limit. At this point, he was going about 105 miles per hour. He also chugged the rest of his beer in one taking. Then he threw the beer in the rear seats and pulled out another one from the console and started working his way down on that one. Just asking, Chief. How many beer cans do you have in that console? Chief Hawksmoor turned his eyes off the road, which made the truck slowly glide into the next lane, about to hit an Acura, when the chief quickly controlled his truck back into the lane and gunned it a little more. I have enough to survive, he said, before opening his window and swearing at the driver in the Acura, who had been swearing at him. Officer Brooks turned from the chief and pulled out a Red Bull from his vest. Thank God for Red Bulls, he said as he took a sip. After about 10 minutes, Officer Brooks and Chief Hawksmoor parked Bessie close to Main Street North in Sheridan. The chief somehow was not drunk, seeing that he had consumed 3 16-ounce cans of Coors Light, although he did throw up. While Chief Hawksmoor was throwing on the side of the road, Officer Brooks went to save them a table at the Cowboy Cafe. Officer Brooks pulled out his phone and called his best friend, Hamey. After a few seconds, Hamey finally answered. What is it, Stephen? Hamey asked sleepily. Nothing much. Just there was a murder at the Occidental Hotel. Some guy named George Douglas, kind of young and also Chief's best friend. Officer Brooks said. His comment was followed by some silence from Hamey. I know my pa was visiting Buffalo this weekend when he heard about it. Some Mrs. Douglas was the murder witness, right? Hamey said. Well, yes, she was going to get her morning coffee and read in the library when she saw the body. Are you accusing Miss Douglas as the murderer? Officer Brooks inquired. No, I'm not necessarily accusing Miss Douglas of committing the murder, but I am now suspecting that she could have done the murder, Hamey said. Hamey, the murder could be anywhere in Buffalo or Wyoming or the United States or even the world, for goodness sakes. And you suspect the victim's wife of committing the crime? Officer Brooks said. I heard that the Douglas family was real rich, but apparently all the family has gotten killed. And I think that George was the last one to inherit all of that wealth. So why not? His wife kills him mysteriously, gets all his fortune, changes her identification, flies off, and lives on a lonely island for the rest of her life, with nobody suspecting her because there's no evidence, Hamey explained. Officer Brooks nodded his head and then said, All right, nice talking to you, Hamey. Have a good rest of your day. Hamey replied with simple thanks and hung up. Officer Brooks pulled out his walkie-talkie and called fellow Officer Nutmeg. Oh, Officer Brooks, orders? What orders? Officer Nutmeg spoke through the walkie-talkie. I want heavier interrogation on Miss Douglas. She could be a suspect of the crime. I don't want any questions, just follow the orders. Silence settled in between the two officers. Eventually, Officer Nutmeg replied, Copy that, and closed his walkie-talkie. Officer Brooks just sighed as he took a deep sip of his coffee. Then in came the chief. The chief was not in his best state, although his marathon of puking had seemingly ceased for the moment being. His eyes were red and his breathing was labored. The chief stumbled to the table where Officer Brooks was sitting, sipping his coffee. Most of that coffee was about to spit out of his mouth when the chief's breath hit his face. Officer Brooks curled his face in disgust and made a run to the bathroom. The chief looked at Officer Brooks with curiosity, intrigued by his sudden departure to the bathroom. But all that curiosity faded away, replaced by the eager feel of hunger. The chief ordered 4 buttermilk pancakes, a mountain of bacon, a river of gravy with biscuits, a ton of eggs, scrambled, and about anything else, that's on the menu. The entire meal was gone in a matter of a few minutes. Officer Brooks came out of the bathroom a little sickly himself. The chief looked at him. Son, you look horrible. What was it that made you like this? Officer Brooks did not want to tell the truth, so he made it up. Oh, it was just the coffee. My stomach's a little upset by it. The chief laughed. Mine is happy as can be. Officer Brooks thought to himself, good for you. After a few pieces of pie, all for the chief, they left the cafe and jumped back into the chief's truck. As the chief was pulling out, the radio came in. Hello, this is Officer Nutmeg. Respond, respond. The chief picked up his radio. What is it, Nutmeg? A little silence followed. Chief Hawksmoor was about to blow when Officer Nutmeg responded. Apologies, Chief. We have interrogated Miss Douglas further for rising suspicions, but she looks clean as soap. The chief moved his mouth from the radio and looked at Officer Brooks. Clean as soap? What the heck? He turned his attention back to the radio. Good job, Nutmeg. You are as great as a chameleon. Officer Nutmeg, not recognizing the sarcasm, was filled with immediate pride. Thank you, sir. I tried my best. I'll be in contact with you and Officer Brooks if anything else comes up. Then he hung up. The chief roared with laughter. He pulled Bessie out of the side of the road and drove her up to the highway. Officer Brooks was slightly puzzled. Chief, wasn't our destination in Sheridan? He asked. Chief Hawksmoor grinned. No, not at all. Our real destination is Bighorn. We just stopped here for breakfast, he said. Officer Brooks nodded. Gotcha, Chief, he said. Oh, I nodded accordingly. Gotcha, Chief, he said. Bessie went on the highway and started her course towards Bighorn. The chief was about to bring out another Coors Light out of the console. Also, he was kicking the gas up to 100 miles per hour. Again. Officer Brooks quickly pulled out a Red Bull from his vest. Try this, Chief. Chief Hawksmoor opened it and drank it all in one chug. Then the caffeine hit his blood and he went psycho. He drove at 150 miles per hour, somehow maintaining himself not to crash other vehicles. And he also put the song Lose Yourself by Eminem at maximum volume. Officer Brooks slumped in his seat and muttered to himself, eventually we all lose ourselves. I should have never given Chief the Red Bull. Ugh.
So I feel like it's like watching like those cop shows, that they're just talking and trying to solve things. That's why I felt like I was listening to like a screenplay. That's where I'm going with it. Joseph, thoughts?
Yeah, it gave me the feeling of kind of downtown rustic. So I think that he did a very good job of setting the scene because it's definitely not in a very big city. And it's not like out in the middle of nowhere, but it's somewhere close to the middle of nowhere, not quite.
Dukes of Hazzard. That's what it reminded me of. Dukes of Hazzard. Those of you that watch reruns. Thomas?
I just feel like the chief is kind of taking advantage of the fact that he's the chief of police to do things that would otherwise get him arrested.
Right. It's very ironic, correct? So Thomas is kind of like using a hyperbole, right? A hyperbole and over exaggeration to make a point. Elsa.
It kind of reminded me of a Lego game I once played that was about a police officer. Mostly because of the one guy, what was his name? Officer Nutmeg. It was funny. Sometimes I was confused, but then my confusion went away because you explained it really well, and I liked it.
All right. Very good. Zoya.
I loved Officer Nutmeg. I thought he was really good. I also am now wondering if the chief was on into the water. So, yeah.
And Thomas.
So a few comments. One to Thomas, the other Thomas. Yeah, that's the point of the chief is he's gonna be that funny dude who's like, well, I'm chief, so I mean I run the, all the highway patrol and whatever, so might as well gun it, right? Also to Elsa, you were talking about Lego City Adventures. Great game. And I just want to ask you all, fine if you guys say no. Do you want me to tell you who was the villain?
I think they're saying yes.
Okay. It's a bit complicated because there's a mafia going on here.
Oh.
There's a group. All right. So Hamey his full name is Hamey Richardson. His family goes way back with the Douglas family on a long series of back and forth fire between property owning and a big gold mine that they found way back. So Hamey and the Richardson Mafia are trying to figure out where the gold is. But wait, that's not the villain. Those aren't the villains. It's just like the Sherlock Holmes. You think he's the villain, they're the villain, but they're not. Nutmeg's the villain.
I knew it.
So unsuspecting.
I love the turn. I'd love the turn of events there, Thomas.
All right, Joseph.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I suspected Hamey. But now I know, yes, I think Nutmeg would have been the least person I suspected because he seems a little bit naive and not very smart, which puts him on the bottom of the list.
Again, this illusion, right? Thomas has made a topsy-turvy world, kind of like a modern Alice in Wonderland. What you think you see isn't what you actually see. Zoya.
So when I first heard Hamey on the phone, I was like, oh, maybe he's the one. But Nutmeg, no, like his name, I love his name. Okay, Nutmeg is the best name.
All right, the last few comments, and we just have a few presentations left. All right, Thomas.
Wait, why didn't Nutmeg say that the wife was looking suspicious so that he wouldn't be suspected?
You mean Hamey or Nutmeg?
Nutmeg.
Okay, so pretty much he had to follow orders because the wife's clean. She's clean. She's not guilty. But even if because remember, Nutmeg, also known as Mr. N, is running this entire operation. So yes.
Don't give it all away, Thomas. Don't give it all away.
Yeah, we might want to read it all.
Don't give it all away. All right, Evelyn.
I honestly thought it was the chief.
There you go, Catherine.
I really liked how you kind of painted the scene or like set the stage. There was so much detail and it just, I don't know, you could kind of feel like you were really there and stuff. So, and I just had one question. Is this being recorded? Like, is there going to be a recording?
Yes.
Of this? Okay. I have to leave early. So everyone, that was awesome. You all did
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. All right, Ella, you've been so patient. Bye-bye, Catherine. Come to the mic. Tell us about yourself. What are we going to see?
My name's Ella Pringle, and I live in Southern California. This is a painting I made when I was actually really little, with some help from a art painting, like an art painting teacher. She actually used to go to my school, and now I do it I do an online class at School A, and yeah.
It is beautiful. I love the expression, if I can zoom in here, the expression on the girl's face. I love it. And the motion of the wind that you can see within the context of the painting. It's beautifully done. Zoya.
I love how you made the grass and like how you can see how hair looks kind of like it's blowing in one direction. And I love your sky, how you didn't make it just one color, but like you made it like kind of blue and grayish swirls, it looks really good.
Yeah, Christina Turner said, that's really gorgeous. The texture of the sky and the grass is incredible. Mrs. Johansson said, this is so beautiful, Ella. We can feel the wind. Mrs. Hoffman, the grass, I can feel the breeze. Wow. Anastasia Frick, when you were younger, I can't do this now. So very, very nicely done. And I love, you know, I don't know if this was intentional, but I love that she is taking her bike, right? And there's a path here, but behind her, you can't see the path. I don't know. There's something poetic about that. I have to sit with it a little bit. I'm sure it's the wind, right? That's blowing things over, but still it kind of gets stuck and makes me think. Nicholas?
Maybe she's just walking her bike backwards. You don't know.
Ooh. Well, that's even more intriguing. Thank you, Nicholas. That's even more intriguing. So well done, Ella. And if I remember correctly, last year too, you had a piece that we shared. What? Oh, okay. I must have mixed you up with someone else. Yeah, it's beautifully done. Well done, Ella. Thank you so much for sharing this. Well done. I want to share, Elsa had to leave, but this is Elsa Rogers' painting, still life drawing that she did. So she'll see the recording. And I love the colors that she has here. It just kind of, you know, speaks the deep colors, the violet and the darkness. It really looks realistic. And that's what Anastasia Frick says too. It looks very realistic. She really captures the lighting perfectly, Christina Turner said. Absolutely. So I just want to make sure that, you know, we got that. Natasha?
Like the blueberries look so realistic.
Yep.
Like the one that's propped up right against it on the frame, it's like the shine on it. I thought it was a photo because the shine is not just plain white, it's like blended over.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So well done, Ilsa. I know you had to leave, but well done. Good work. All right, Nicholas, come to the mic. Tell us who you are. Tell us what you're going to be presenting.
Okay, so my name is Nicholas Schendel. I live on Cape Cod. I despise taco songs, kiwi songs, and leaf songs. And yeah, I would have shared another essay that I finished like a week ago, but it wasn't done in time. So I did this one that I wrote earlier in the year for my informal logic art of argument class. It's basically why the Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien is better than Narnia by C.S. Lewis. So yeah. Okay. There's a very pressing matter in today's world. One might say a tragedy. Some people believe that the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis is better than The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Today, I've gathered you together to put those misguided ones on the right path. First, let's talk about history. In The Lord of the Rings, you get a very good sense of the past and how it corresponds with the events of the book. For example, it tells you the names of many of Theoden's ancestors and what they did, whereas in Narnia, you do not really get that as much. All you know is what happened in the book, but nothing in between. This is one great example of the superiority of The Lord of the Rings. In Middle-earth, there is per se much more diversity. There are many countries and peoples. You have the Rohirrim, the Gondorians, Easterlings, the Elves, the Hobbits, and many more. Whereas in Narnia, you only have the Narnians, the Men of Archenland, and the Calormen. Tolkien is much more elaborate than Lewis and goes into more detail. You can tell this by just seeing the difference in the size of the books. Narnia is a 7-book series. Each book has a different plot and is about 200 pages. Lord of the Rings is a trilogy in a single plot, and each book is about 400 pages long. I hope you have come to realize The Lord of the Rings is better than Narnia. Overall, you have learned about these two series.
Very persuasive indeed, Nicholas. Very persuasive indeed. All right, Natasha.
Hope you're not going to do a persuasive essay on the talk on how the Talkathon is bad, but overall, this is a great essay.
Elsa.
Okay, now there has to be a great epic bait of all time, but I know we don't have enough time for that, so we should save that for another day.
Yes.
Anyway, as I have not read the whole entire Lord of the Rings series, I do not have a full opinion on this, but as far as I know, I think that I can't rank them because they're both so good.
Agreed. All right, Amaya.
Here's the thing. I grew up on C.S. Lewis, so you cannot convince me with that argument. Tolkien is absolutely amazing. And if you're going with the Tolkien side of the argument, yes, he has more complexity, and he invented different languages in different societies, and the way that he melded them together was fantastic. But you have to realize that they were both friends. They both took off of each other's ideas to create
Yes.
different book series that were for different audiences. So C.S. Lewis is geared more for children. Tolkien is geared more for adults. It depends on what genre, not only that you're reading, but also the audience that is reading it. So I love both of them, and I think they should be both read together.
And there you have it. Zoya. Very good argument, Amaya.
I love the Narnia series. Like, I mean, Natasha actually got me the whole series and everything. I also like The Lord of the Rings, so I can like do it. I loved your essay. I like how you said it's like a tragedy. Most people say like a very pressing matter. I like that. It really cracked me up during the very beginning. Really intrigued me to see what you had to say on both the subjects.
Okay. Now we're not going to get back into debate. So very quickly, Joseph Thomas.
Okay, I think that the tone of your essay was very, very good. Even my own essays bore me to sleep, especially my own essays. And that's the only essay that I've ever read and laughed.
All right, Thomas.
Which one?
You.
Oh, me. Okay. Question for Nicholas. Did you use any fallacies like snob appeal or mob appeal?
I don't think so, but I'd have to go back and proofread it.
Wait, I'm just asking because I'm taking the same class too, so I was just wondering.
All right, Thomas.
First of all, I haven't read all of Lord of the Rings. So it's hard to decide. Oh, so I really need to read Narnia. Also, Sparrow's in the same class as me and Ella, and she loves Narnia, so I can just say if she was here, she would definitely argue that Narnia is better than Lord of the Rings.
All right. And the saga continues. Okay, last but definitely not least, and thank you for those of you that are hanging in there. We've had great discussions, Dr. Aaron. I don't think we've had this caliber of
We really
discussions
have.
in the past years. This so much going back and forth, which is wonderful because we love that. So Miriam is our last presenter today, and she has an entourage with her that's helping her out. So Miriam, introduce yourself and then who is with you.
My name is Miriam, and I am in 8th grade. I go to I do SRS, and
This helping?
Amaya, you're presenting a poem? Okay, so we have two more.
The poem that I'm doing, sorry, the play that I'm doing is, I wrote it with 3 other girls from my English class that we take through SRS. And one of them is not here today, so Zoya is helping out. This poem, as I guess I say later, is about a discussion between a family of 4 who are discussing the Civil War and slavery.
All right.
I'm Sophia. I take classes through SRS and School A and also Trisagian School, and this is my 3rd year of homeschooling. And in a note Presbyteria today, we went through and did some editing, so there's actually a newer version of the document. So I don't know.
Who has it?
Any of us do.
Okay, then you guys can share.
Okay.
I'll just sit back and relax. I love when that happens.
I just made it so you have access to share.
I'll pull it up.
And then Amaya, can you email me your poem, or are you gonna pull it up on your end?
I think I had already emailed it to you.
Let's see here. What's your email, Amaya?
I use my mom's Nikki4@bellsouth.net, but I might have accidentally used my dad's. I'm not sure, but I think I emailed it through my mom's.
Okay, I'll keep on searching.
A heaping plate of injustice. This skit was made to enlighten the audience upon the views of slavery. The 2 brothers, of whom you hear the most, because brothers are always the loudest, hold 2 different opinions on slavery. Abel believes slavery is evil and should be abolished, while Cain believes slaves are beneficial and should be permitted. Tonight, we show a conversation between our family of 4 as they eat a dinner of fried chicken and mashed potatoes.
Though I'm eating fried chicken and mashed potatoes, it's seasonal. I'm eating a heaping plate of injustice.
My goodness, Abel, what an insult to Ma's cooking.
You know what I mean, Cain. The South has no right to enslave people, nor do they have any right to secede. The North agrees with me. They're going to smash the South just like these mashed potatoes.
Every time I cut my fried chicken, it reminds me of how the South has finally cut their ties with the North. You're being unfair, Abel. The South need those slaves to farm. They rely on them for their income.
They got to get an income. Slaves, and we're doing fine. We're honest people doing honest work. Slaves don't got everlasting energy.
Well, we don't got everlasting energy either.
Hey, stop yelling. I bet the neighbors a mile down can hear what you're saying.
Yeah, Cain, stop yelling. You're so obnoxious.
Said the obnoxious younger sister obnoxiously. Oh, stop that, Maria. You don't even know what we're talking about.
Yes, I do. You're talking about the Union, about how the Union is good because they wear blue, which is my favorite color, and the Confederates are bad because they wear gray. So obviously, Abel is right, Cain. Nobody wearing gray can possibly be the good guys.
Maria, stay out of this. And Abel, it ain't our business how slaves are treated. We ain't their own.
It is our business because people are being beaten and hurt in our country, and we need to do something.
No, we don't. What's happened in the South is their business, and the North has no right to interfere.
Boys, that is enough. I want no more talk of this mess. Is that clear? Stop it right now. You're disgracing the Fothergill name.
Mother, don't you see? Cain wants to join the... He's the one disgracing the Fothergill name. You ain't gonna let him do that, right?
I said...
What's the rep? Is that a Minions thing? I saw the cutest Minions strip the other day. Though Minions work willingly, slaves do not. Minions are cartoon characters who work for highly unrealistic and absurd goals. Slaves work unwillingly for cool masters who push them to lengths beyond anything except Oh, that's not fair. Just like when mom lets you have a slice of cake and I only get a cookie. And ma, what are the webs? Able speak English. I thought minions were good.
It's the Confederacy, Maria. And the minions are fine, but they have nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Actually, Maria, minions are the very foundation of all things in existence, and many people love them. In fact, a very famous philosopher once said, "I love minions, yes I do, and I'm not sorry."
Really? No, Maria, Kane is teasing you. Kane, the South ain't being mistreated. They have been expanding the reach of slavery too far and must be stopped.
Southerners are just doing what they need to do to survive.
Hey guys, hey, you guys skipping over the important question. Are minions or ain't the minions the foundation of all existence?
No, Maria, minions aren't the foundation of all existence. Just ignore your foolish brothers. Boys, stop confusing your poor sister.
But wait, I thought the sole purpose of sisters is to be teased.
Hey, Kane's right. We've been shirking our brotherly duties. What? No, you've been.
Hey, Abel, Maria, all of you, eat your fried chicken or keep in plate of injustice or whatever. I want not a single word from any of you until tomorrow.
I love this.
I need to share that with Mr. Diamond, I think. That was great playwriting, great dialogue.
Yes, it was. And all the allusions, it took me until about the halfway point to every time I heard Cain, Abel, not to think of the biblical story of Cain and Abel. And then I could get past it. All right, comments. Thomas Athanasi.
Great job to all of you. Playwriting was excellent. I thought that you really included the correct humor. You had a great setting, a family dinner night with a regular Southern meal. I speak from experience. I live in the South.
Yes.
I really like how, the reference to Cain and Abel. I think that was great. We all know Presbitera's love of minions, so that was definitely a win for everybody. And I might have missed this when you guys were talking about this, but this really reminded me of Across 5 Aprils. Across 5 Aprils.
You all read that this year in your class, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. Then, in that case, great job replicating Across 5 Aprils. Absolutely great job. Although I was bored out of my mind of that book. How you guys replicated the two brothers, the continuing fight of no, the North is good, the South is bad, and then whatsoever. I thought that was a great job. So round of applause to all of you.
Thank you, Athanasi. Thomas.
First of all, I really like the connection between Cain and Abel. That just popped out to me. And I also really love how you just add in the minions.
Sophia.
This is a note to First Thomas. This is actually an assignment for Across 5 Aprils, was to write a skit together as a group. So
There you have it. Elsa.
They didn't have GIFs back then. They also didn't have the minions back then.
Well, it's not historically correct, but it makes the point, right? I loved, as funny as it was to have the minions with slavery, right? It makes the point that slavery was was against the law, of course, and it wasn't on the people's wanting to be a slave. Minions want to be minions, and they get paid with bananas and those kind of things, and they're happy. So the interplay, the juxtaposition of the minions versus slaves, I thought was brilliant. I really did. Nicholas.
Okay, I have to say, Minions actually were around back then. If you have not watched the movies, if you can't tell, so they were around back then. The movie wasn't out, but they were around back then.
Here you go. All right. So, Amaya, I can't seem to find your poem, but do you have it?
Yes.
Excellent. So last but definitely not least, Amaya Wohlers. Did I pronounce that correctly?
It's Wohlers. It's German too, so I know the last names are super hard to pronounce.
I'll work on my German. Tell us about yourself, and then we look forward to hearing your poem.
I'm a sophomore in high school, and I take the art of poetry and the formal history of poetry under Mrs. Johansson. And it's a wonderful class. I was writing poetry for years before that, but she has really helped me grow in my poetry writing. I write novels and stories and poetry in my free time, and I like to draw.
Beautiful. And what is the poem you're going to be reading to us?
It's free verse narrative style, which is my favorite type of poetry to write. And it's about autumn because I live in Texas and I moved about a year ago, and we don't have autumn here in Texas, and it's my favorite season.
Well, we look forward to hearing you. Go ahead.
Autumn is the yellow-green half-light that washes the streets and arrays them in garments of gold. It is a chill breeze that snaps the brittle leaves and stirs the scent of pine needles and smoke among the scarlet trees. Autumn is a dancing tapestry of the sky, woven in hues of Spanish yellows and blues. Autumn is a soup pot of memories, other fires on the beach with my grandparents, dancing on the sloping driveway with my younger sister to the rhythm of high school drums played at football games, coffee on the front stoop with my parents as we watched the squirrels and chipmunks greedily preparing for winter. Autumn is staying out late in the evenings with friends, knowing that soon cold will steal our breath, much needed for our soccer games, clear away. It is a rainbow array of colored jackets flapping in the wind as we bike down the street. Autumn is raking leaves like mounds of tarnished jewels and then teasing my sister by spilling them like tears in her long hair. Autumn is hot cider around our small backyard fire, the flames flickering like past sunlight in the dark. It is the coziness of listening to our mom read poetry to us, while we sit in the warm splash of lamplight and wear soft flannel or wool that ripples against our skin formerly darkened by summer sun. Autumn is bound up inside my heart like all the poems I write, an unforgettable leaflet of my continuing story.
That's beautiful.
Thank you for closing our open mic night with that absolutely beautiful poem. Oh, just so beautiful.
And your rendition, your recitation rather, beautiful. Did I catch, like, maybe I was just in the moment, but I'm like, does she have a Scottish-ish accent?
I don't know if I do or not, but I am part Scottish, yes.
I have to tell you, I was kind of like transported. I had my eyes closed and I was listening to you and I was like, I hear a Scottish accent coming through. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful.
Amaya, Mrs. Johansson commented that she loves having you read your poetry in class, and I want to agree with her. She said, you know, poetry is best when we read it aloud. And every time I teach poetry, I always say poems are meant to be read, right? They're meant for us to hear them. And I loved hearing you read those. The quote that I always tell my students is listen to the poet, right? We have to listen to the poet. That was really, really beautiful. You do have a few other comments, actually. Let's see. I moved them off my screen.
One of my favorite lines was, I can't remember verbatim, but when you said, until our breaths are captured, or it captures our breath, something about the cold. It was a beautiful line.
Yeah, and Miss Hoffman said she loved autumn is the yellow green half light. Oh, that is so beautiful and so true. like we could smell the wood smoke, she says,
Mhm.
from an outdoor fire. You know what, Amaya? I'm going to make a confession to you. My students know this. I always say autumn is my least favorite season. And I know I'm not popular for that. It's because I don't like the coming of winter. I feel like autumn is foreboding. But you might have made me like autumn tonight.
I love it. It definitely was a beautifully put poem. And like I said, we'll post the video when it's ready. But goodness, I was transported to Scotland tonight. I don't know if Scotland has autumn, but that's where I was transported.
And I'm partly Scottish.
Athanasi, did you have something to say?
Yes, I wanted to make very clear that from the first line, I was captured. That just the imagery in
Yes.
just that first line was all you need as a hook. I just want to make that clear. Nothing had to be added in just that introduction to the poem. All through the poem, you get this sense of peace and, coziness and, something beautiful. And the imagery really, how you dragged it out in a good way was really well done, because every time that, even though you said autumn is, that was perfect, because each time you kept introducing autumn as a new thing.
Yes.
As something new every time. So I am really blown away by that. That was amazing.
Mrs. Johansson wrote, Amaya makes such beautiful word choices and always works in her favorites. Elsa?
I love autumn. And that poem was actually described autumn very well, except until you get to the part of autumn which is like around Thanksgiving, and it starts raining super hard, and it's so slushy and so cold outside. Or maybe this is only here in Erie, but it's terrible. I love the first half of autumn when it's still warm.
Well, Amaya, that was a beautiful poem. Please email it to me. I'm not sure what happened, but email it to me so I can add it to everyone's. It was just gorgeous. And yes, I'm going to listen to that video, the video again, because I'm telling you, I was transported. Rosie?
We don't really have autumn here. Well, we do, but really the first 2/3 of autumn is basically the hottest month of the year, and it feels hot for me, and it's barely even summer, but August is so much worse. But then the last third it gets colder, but I don't really get to experience like the red and yellow leaves. It's just everything just gets duller, but I kind of like the feel of autumn, except that school starts, except for the first week. I'm always excited about school, but I know that after the first week, I won't be.
Oh. All right, Amaya, last remarks.
I'm glad you all liked it. Thank you. I almost didn't share tonight because, as Mrs. Johansson knows, I'm insanely shy, and this class has worked wonders for me. She's the only reason I'm here sharing with you guys. But I'm glad that you liked it, Mrs. Moulton, because my job as a poet, that I feel, is to try and make other people at least see my perspective, even if they don't agree with it. So to have someone who doesn't like autumn like aspects of it because of my poem is really huge for me. I lived for basically the last 6.5 years before this last winter in Ohio, and all the trees changed gorgeous colors, and we had a lot of rain too. But before that, it was like the last days before everyone that we knew in the neighborhood went back to school. So we would hang out all day long in the perfect summer into autumn air, and all those memories after moving here and being really sad just got really poured into this poem. So I'm thankful that you guys liked it.
Well, thank you, Amaya. It was absolutely beautiful. Thank you to everyone, to all of the participants, all of the attendees. Thank you so much. You know, I have to say I was transported tonight. I didn't even notice the time go by, and I'm looking, I'm going, oh my goodness. Usually we're done in an hour and 15 minutes, but it was glorious. So thank you so much, everyone. Open mic night. Have a wonderful last week of classes. Dr. Aaron, anything?
No, just thank you for sharing the beauty of your words and your art. It might have been long, but I have enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you
Yes.
so much. Really.
Yes. Good night, everyone. God bless you guys. See you soon.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.